Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Foliage. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So guys, today we are going to be talking about a plant that is so common that I'm sure every one of you have grown it at some point or the other. It's none other than the rose plant. Now there are so many different varieties, there are hybrids, there are wild roses, there are so many varieties that I can't even tell you. Now the basic thing about this plant is that it is a heavy feeder, which means it requires a lot of feeding. Now unfortunately I do not have a lot of varieties. I just have two different varieties of rose plants. This one is a hybrid variety and the other one that I have is a wild rose. I will share about the wild rose, my experience with it by the end of the video. It's very interesting. Now guys, talking about the care requirements, a rose plant is a heavy feeder, which means it requires a lot of nutrients. Especially if the soil is acidic, your rose plant will be very happy. Now when I say acidic soil, it basically means if you're preparing any kind of compost, try to make a separate compost for rose plants and you can add in that some citrus peels, orange peels or lemon peels. With this the compost will become slightly acidic. Otherwise usually we do not use so much of acidic compost for our other plants because they would not prefer that high level of acidic in the soil, but our rose plants love acidic soil. So if you are a person who tends to eat a lot of oranges or tends to make a lot of lemonade, you can save up those orange and lemon peels. Now talking about nutrients, they are a heavy feeder, which means they require very nutrient soil. Otherwise the roses will be very less, there will be very less blooms. Apart from that, you'll also see that there will be a lot of yellowing of leaves. So you need to ensure that all given point of time the soil is very rich in nutrients. Now as you all know, I do not use solid fertilizers, but for this particular plant I tend to do a little extra bit. Apart from giving the compost tea every second week, I also tend to give it a good amount of waste tea leaves. Apart from that, I also tend to give it a good amount of onion skin fertilizer, the ones that I mix with water. So at all given point of time, there is some kind of nutrients that I keep adding, probably once every 2 weeks or probably once every week. So something or the other is always being fed, and that's the reason why you can see the plant looks very healthy and the roses are really red and beautiful. Now for a lot of people who do not have a lot of space, because guys, a rose plant cannot be grown indoors. In case if you want to grow it in the balcony, there has to be a good amount of sunlight. Only then the roses will start to bloom. Otherwise the plant will start getting stretched and there won't be a lot of blooms and it will start looking little bad. So in order for it to be very healthy, you have to give it a good amount of direct sunlight. Now as and when the plant starts to mature, it can even handle afternoon direct sunlight as well, but you have to ensure that you are giving it a good amount of watering, otherwise the soil will dry. Now watering completely depends upon your environment, the type of soil, the type of pot and the size of pot that you're using. I usually tend to water my rose plant every alternate day and I do it early in the morning. Please avoid watering your rose plant late in the evening or late at night, because that could lead to root rot or even fungus and molds that might grow on the roots. Now guys, talking about light, as I said, give it a good amount of light in order to have these beautiful blooms. If you're not going to give it enough light, then the blooms and the roses might not be as frequent on the plant. Apart from that, nutrition in the soil is also very important. So definitely you need to have a good amount of nutrition like cow dung, vermicompost, bone meal. All these things, if they are present in the soil, can help your rose plant become healthy. But guys, there is an alternative to this, which you do not need to spend much money. You can get it from your kitchen itself. I'm making a video. It is still in the process because it has been raining a lot. I'm not able to dry any of the ingredients out in the sun. That is why it's taking a lot of time. But over the period of time, I will be able to make that video and share it with you guys. It is going to be very useful for your rose plant without spending much money on the fertilizers. So apart from good watering, good amount of sunlight, fertilizers, another important thing is doing a deadheading. So whenever your rose plants tend to bloom, and once the blooms are dead, it's very important you do a deadheading. That is basically you cut off the old blooms. You can even cut 1 to 2 inch of the stem, and this will promote new growth on your rose plant. So deadheading is also very important, which will help in promoting new and healthy growth on your rose plant. So as I said about the DIY fertilizers which is available in your kitchen, I'll give you the ingredients. Probably you can start drying it out in the sun. So these are all the ingredients that would come handy if you want to use a homemade fertilizer for your rose plant. This tends to work out really well. I will explain the process in the coming video very soon. So as I said that I'm going to be talking about my wild rose. This is my wild rose, or they also call it as the desi rose. Now this is a variety called as paneer rose. I'm not quite sure if that's the correct name. Now this was purchased 5 years back. It was 3 to 4 inches in size along with some other hybrid roses. Now after 5 years, this wild rose has reached almost 7 feet tall, and it killed all the hybrid roses that were there in the same pot. Now it's ideally said that if you have a wild rose or a desi rose, it tends to kill out all the hybrid roses that are there in that. So ensure that if you have a variety that is a wild variety or a desi rose, then do not put hybrid roses in the same pot. So what happened over here is it started to dry out. After 5 years, it started to dry out, and I went to her and I said that I think it's time to cut you off, because it's been so long that you've been with me and I think you're almost done and you have aged, and I think I have to cut you off. And I thought I'll give it some more time before I cut, because I feel it really difficult to cut any plant and uproot any plant. So I said I'll give you a week's time and I'll decide whether I need to cut you or not. And you won't believe, guys, just within 3 days I started noticing there were a lot of shoots that started to come out. I was very shocked. In fact, I didn't even add any kind of fertilizers to the soil, but I seen there was so many shoots growing, and within 2 weeks I started noticing there were a lot of buds. As you can see over here, the amount of buds, I was quite shocked. I didn't know what exactly is happening with the plant. Probably it heard me that I said I'm going to cut you off. Probably it got scared or something, I don't know, or probably it was trying to say that it's still alive, don't cut me off. But within a month, this is the transformation. You can see the amount of blooms. I was totally shocked. I have never seen, like, in 5 years time, I had never seen so many roses on this plant. I mean, it keeps coming every now and then, but not at one point of time. There were around 20 to 25 roses on the plant, and because the plant is almost 7 feet tall, it has very narrow stems. So the size and the weight of the rose was so much that the rose plant started to bend because of the weight of the roses. But I was completely shocked with the amount of roses on it. So ever since then, I have started taking good care of her once again, started watering, started giving her a good amount of fertilizers, and she has been doing quite well. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.